Welcome back to Tech Garage, presented by RockAuto.com. One of our favorite segments this year is something we like to call Keep It or
Crush It.
That's right. You know, new cars are hard to find and they're hard to afford these days. Same thing with used cars. It's hard to find a good one and hard to find a good one you can afford. So we're finding some good deals on vehicles, deciding whether we want to flip them or get rid of them. And we found this '07 Nissan Quest, Josh. It was kind of rough looking, frankly. But we started to look at it mechanically and decided it's a good running vehicle once we brought it up into the shop.
Yeah, it's what's on the inside that counts when you're hauling a family around, not necessarily what it looks like on the outside. So.
Function over form, especially these days when things are hard to afford. And this is going to make a nice vehicle for somebody. There was one problem, though, that we found when we got it up into the upper shop.
Yeah, once we parked it, you could see it was dripping from the radiator. You can't really fix the radiator. You can try, but it's going to end up leaking again. So we just decided let's go ahead and replace the radiator.
Now, we just happen to have a donor vehicle, another Nissan Quest, so we took the radiator from that, put it in this one. We'll tell you how we did that. As a backup, we also got one from RockAuto.com, just in case we were to find this one was going to leak as well. Now, replacing the radiator can be complicated, but wasn't so bad in this Nissan Quest, Josh.
No, not at all. The Nissan engineers really made it easy on us. But before we get to that, surprise, first thing we did was we had to remove the battery tray, took the battery out, disconnected the battery terminals so that we could get that radiator fan out. The radiator fan was pretty easy. We had 2 bolts on top and just a couple tabs on the bottom, so we took those 2 fan bolts out. We were able to wiggle it out and pull it out once we took off the upper radiator hose.
Well, thanks to the engineers at Nissan for making it super easy with those clips, Josh.
Yeah, it was a big surprise. A lot of times you have to take off that upper radiator support. They made it to where you could just take those clips off so you could get the radiator out. But before we could do that, I had to disconnect the transmission lines at the bottom of the radiator. Once we did that, the radiator pulled straight up and out.
Good policy to take everything slowly because there might be some other hose or wire connected, so make sure you take your time on jobs like this and any job when you're working with your vehicle. Next, the donor vehicle, we grabbed the radiator out of that, same process to remove that one, and we started to put it into this Nissan.
Yeah, we just reversed the procedure, slid the radiator down.
And you had to install the fans, Josh. We didn't explain unclipping it, but that wasn't that hard.
Right, yeah, if you look at the fans, you start to pull on it like you were saying, just making sure there's no wires. You discover there's 2 wire connectors you have to disconnect from each fan. So we definitely need to put those back in as we install the fans, so our fans will run when we get the thing cranked up and going down the road.
And battery had to go back in, so we used the same battery that was there. It was still good, and we had to fill and burp the system.
Right, when you fill the system back up with coolant, you're gonna have air pockets, so we let the engine run for a while, get it to operating temperature, and then once the system was burped, we were good to go.
All right, once that was ready to go, we needed to put a new starter in this. It wasn't starting on its own very easily. It was kind of intermittent start there. So
we were starting for a while and slowly, and it just wouldn't start at all. So yeah, we did some diagnosis, and that's what ended up being the issue. So.
Well, that takes care of most of the mechanical stuff. Next week, we're going to move on to this interior. And let me tell you, this thing is nasty. This was clearly used by a family for a long time, but we're going to clean it up and you'll be surprised at the transformation. We'll be right back with more Tech Garage presented by RockAuto.com when we return. Don't go anywhere.